Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome, and welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness and the highest levels of love, light, and sovereignty. I'm just going to go into a little flow. I just did a video about being an empath, and it's a big subject that's coming up in the collective. So I invite you to go back and watch that video if that's something you're inspired to do or drawn to do. I'm in the process of doing 2 other videos associated with that video, and it went a lot longer than I expected. So this video is just a little inflow message from my higher guidance team, and we'll see what comes through. So my intention is just to share when I'm doing these is I generally just ask to connect in for a message that would be for the highest and greatest good of the collective and whoever's watching this. So, or whatever message is just in general about the energies that are coming in. And I just like to kind of get into a space of just allowing the words to flow or the energies to come through. So that's where we're going to go with this. Te unu e te auawa ke neheas te euk ua wahana. Ke e anda ak e ak ok o ak ana ak o ak ana ak o. Est ak enak ok o. Just sitting with this energy for a minute. So just to share, I've been invited to share a lot more about my journey. And as I'm doing this work, every time it's a little different. Today I'm seeing pictures, I'm seeing examples of where we could go with this particular conversation. And I'm seeing basically a lot of people who are really entangled in other people's stuff. And I'm seeing why I was guided to talk about being an empath. So this is going to be a little different today. What I'm being shown is that a lot of beings are basically putting themselves into other people's stories, or accepting those other stories as their own, similar to what I talked about in my previous video. The reason I say that is because oftentimes we think because it's showing up in our reality, it must be for us. And while that is true to a certain extent, sometimes, I'm going to use an example of watching a television show or seeing something coming on social media. Just because it's showing up for us on there does not mean it's showing up for us in our reality. And I'm being guided to go into that a little deeper. What does that mean? What is our reality? From my perspective, my reality is my everyday life. My reality is what I immerse myself in with relationships. My reality involves my husband, my dog, what I eat, what I choose to immerse myself into that then becomes my reality, or what I'm creating. And I could go into so many different layers with this. I'll go into a little bit more depth on this in just a moment. But I'm being shown that in the collective, so many people are immersing themselves in other people's stories that they're forgetting to find their own. Or they're getting lost in other people's stories that they're forgetting that they have their own. And I'm tying this in with the empath video because we are all empaths from a higher perspective. We all have the ability to feel other people's emotions should we choose to tap into that. More and more people have attached that to their reality, and they are recognizing that they have that ability. once you connect that in with other people's stories, it can make things sticky. It can make things tangled up. It can be difficult for us to untangle ourselves from all of everybody else's feelings, everybody else's dramas, everything else that's going on around us. Or from a higher perspective, we perceive that it's difficult to do that. When in reality, sometimes we are not taking the time to integrate our own emotions because we are playing in everybody else's playing box, playing field, sandbox, creating creations based on what their perspectives are. And it can be difficult for us to feel the difference between their perspectives and our own. So, I'm just going to go. It's kind of what I was seeing. Ishtek in the heck. Once we allow ourselves to let go of the labels, to transcend the idea and concept of time to figure everything out, time. We recognize that time is merely a concept that we have created in our own experience to allow us to compartmentalize our experiences, to allow us to slow down in one essence and to experience things in a moment-to-moment reflection, refraction, expression, creative extension of and as source energy. Yet, many of us have forgotten that this is something we have the capacity for changing, understanding, for creating within the expression of no time. The expression of 0 point neutrality allows us to express from a much broader viewpoint. So as we link into other people's journeys, as we link into other people's perspectives as to what our reality should look like, how we should behave, what we should be responding to, and how we should be responding to those outside stimuli. This is a play on words. I'm seeing stimuli. Like it's all of those things are not necessarily our truth. Finding our tribe will assist us in allowing a falling away of that which is not relevant to expose itself more in our lives. So this is also, I'm seeing like we'll start to see the stuff that we've been paying attention to isn't really relevant with our own expansion. So, and sometimes it takes somebody else from our soul group telling us that, or showing to us something else that makes us feel more expansive. So I'm being invited to share in a couple of sessions I've had with other light workers who are in the process of finding what does inspire them. Some people are unplugging, then they're not plugging in at all, and they're finding it challenging to connect in with things that inspire them. I'm seeing that as a play on words, like, I'm seeing that as a reference to, because the other part of the sofa wasn't comfortable enough. I'm seeing it as a reference, like there's an expiration date on all of this. Once we've reached a certain form of expansion and we want to express at a higher form of expansion, that stuff that did interest us, that we did feel inspired by, is expired. It's like sour milk because it no longer makes us feel, it may never have made us feel good, but sometimes information that we get that doesn't make us feel good does make us tune into a little bit more of what we didn't know. In a certain reality. And I'm talking about some of the truths that are being exposed. And what I'm seeing is people have gotten so sucked into these stories and rabbit holes in both communities, the light worker community as well as the not so light worker community. Because oftentimes there's these stories about what's unfolding and how it's unfolding that might be true for a particular teacher or light worker, that doesn't mean it's the only truth. That might be just one bubble of many bubbles. Doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that there's more to it sometimes than just what that one person is sharing. So for example, when I share stuff, it's based on my own perspective. And yes, I have a very multidimensional perspectives at times, but that doesn't mean I'm seeing into every single possibility and dimension that's out there. So I'm always looking to expand and feeling into, is that using my discernment? Is that the one all know all be all truth? So I'm careful to plug into something or to totally back a concept or idea as the only truth. So I'm being guided to talk about one of the first books that I ever read was, is it Barbara McMelkey? Can't remember her name, and I apologize because I know a lot of people watching this are going to be like, this is the name. She wrote the book Bringers of Dawn, and it was all about the Pleiadians, if I'm not mistaken. I read that book years ago, and it triggered a lot of memories for me, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is, but I am not guided to necessarily read or plug into just that information anymore. That was just a little piece of the puzzle for me to plug into something that I was missing. And so this can be a constant journey for us, and that I could have easily only gotten drawn into that story and only drawn into that truth. So I'm just seeing a lot of people are missing the bigger picture or don't realize that they're missing out on more expansiveness. And this doesn't necessarily mean by constantly getting information from different sources and different teachers. Although this can be very helpful, it is about us doing that and playing and finding our soul group that can maybe offer us another piece of the puzzle, which has happened with me. I have other light workers that I've worked with that are like, hey, have you ever heard of this person? And I look and read into some of their work. Some of it I go, oh, that's not for me. And others I go, wow, this is really expansive. But it's bigger than that. What I'm being shown is it's about us finding and finding ourself. So stepping out of even the mystery school stories and magical stories, that's all really cool and important for our journey. But it's about us finding our own story. And I really want to share that everybody has one. And it's the balance is, though, not getting sucked into our story. Going more into, what do we want to write about? Have we always wanted to write children's books? Have we always wanted to participate in an art class but felt like we weren't very good at it? But it's been this ongoing desire we've been ignoring. And that seems so simple, but in doing that, in finding that expression, it might help us to remember other things about ourselves and expand and tap into our other strands of DNA, right? Our other things in us that are just waiting there to be activated. And we do activate into these higher strands and higher frequencies by doing creative things, by movement, dance, art, song, writing out a play and acting, in joy and expression, chanting, sound bowls, grid work on the earth, swimming in the ocean and doing meditations in the ocean. I mean, I could go on and on about all of the ways that we can activate into a higher expression. It isn't always about somebody else's story, although that can assist us in feeling motivated or can trigger within us certain frequencies that are really important in our journey as well. But what I'm being guided to talk about is some of us are still plugging into old stories. They haven't given us the juice. They juiced us at first, and now we're like, becoming disenchanted or unmotivated or feeling disappointed, right? And we've all gone through this, I can feel safe to say, at certain times in our lives. But what I'm being shown is that's when we know that that no longer is fulfilling for our soul journey. And so get out there and connect with your soul brothers and sisters. And that might be from doing something that you're not used to doing. Maybe going and taking that art class and expressing yourself will then allow you to meet others at the art class that are part of your soul group. They may not even know it either. You know, going and getting together with whatever it might be. And I do understand that that's difficult during this period of time in what we're experiencing. But there are other things to do. Like, for example, there are still children in the hospital that need volunteers to hold them, who have been birthed in a drug situation from a mother's womb who was ingesting, drugs. So that's something that is needed. And I believe volunteers, you have to sign up for this whole course. I don't know if it's on hold right now, but that would be something that people could do who want to help. There are still, now I know nursing homes are closed off, so we can't volunteer in that, but there's still animal shelters that people can go volunteer at. There's still things that are there and available, homeless shelters that people can still go and feed and assist our brothers and sisters who don't have food. Hosting a prayer group, which I was so excited about. Somebody very dear to me started this week. Hosting a prayer group with people that you feel comfortable with, maybe staying in quarantine, 6 feet apart, outside in a park. There's a lot of things that we can do to connect with our brothers and sisters and disconnect from the story that's being fed, no matter what group it's being fed from. I've unplugged. I did it. I am aware of most of the things and subjects being exposed within disclosure. Even though it's not on mainstream media, I am aware. I dreamed about it years ago. And now it's showing up. There is nothing that I can do other than hold my own frequency and assist those around me in what I can assist them with, which then ripples out into the collective. So whatever we have as an opportunity, and I love the teacher Jason Estes, he says if it's in front of you, do it. So if you have that opportunity in front of you and it shows up for you in your reality, then it's a great opportunity to pull us out of the story that we're feeding into or that we're continuing to put our energy into, our resources, our value. And that can leave us feeling depleted is what I'm actually seeing. People are starting to feel worn down and depleted because, again, things haven't happened the way that they expected or that they wanted to. And so that might have been part of our soul group, this particular group that is tying into certain truths. And they are meant to be honored on their journey, but that isn't the only journey. That isn't all of it. There's so much more that, again, just labeling ourselves as one thing can limit us to how expansive we can be and limit us to see the bigger picture of where we can use our gifts, how we can use our gifts, who we can work with in our reality to improve somebody's life or improve our own life or to make us feel like we are making a difference. And I want to just end on that note and remind everybody that we are making a difference just by being here on the earth and being in a place of neutrality where we can assist others who are unable to find that space. is doing something good. So remember and reminding ourselves that we are doing good things, providing that we are doing no harm to others, obviously. And it's important to remember that. So in love and light, thank you so much for tuning in. Namaste.